Welcome to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Wong, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. This is a place where you'll be guided to living your most aligned life so that your truest, most radiant self can emerge. We'll be jamming on topics ranging from spirituality, entrepreneurship, to wellness and lifestyle design, and everything in between that can support you to grow, evolve, and shine, all the while not taking ourselves too seriously. So if you're ready to step into your leadership, break through limiting beliefs, own all of who you are, and expand in abundance, grab yourself your faith cup of tea and let's dive in. Hello. It's Michelle Wong here, and welcome to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. I am really excited about this episode. It's a solo episode, but when the download and the wisdom came, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to do a podcast on this topic. So welcome. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm so happy you're here. And if you're a returning listener, thank you. I love you. I'm really just jazzed about this. So let me rewind a bit. For the past few days, I've been feeling a little bit kind of in a low energy vibe, kind of in my own emotional way, feeling a lot of the uncertainty, a lot of the unknown, feeling a little bit sadness. And I was feeling that this morning. I was feeling that last night. I was feeling that most part of this week. I'm recording this on a Thursday. So for the most part of this week, I was just kind of feeling into this funky energy. And right now I'm reading a book called Flowers and Honey by Julie Tenner. It's about the feminine. And some of her clients recommended her book to me, and you can get off Amazon, Flowers and Honey, all about really tapping into your feminine, and she talks about it. And as a graduate of Mama Gina's School of Womanly Arts, I was like, do I need to do more feminine work? And I decided to get the book because I feel like it was a different lens on the feminine. And so I started reading it. And what I love about it is she's talking about our emotions and really leaning into the emotions and tapping into the emotions and being in the wave of the emotions. And really the feminine is about the dark side as well as the light side, right? It's like this energy that pulses through us, whether you're, whether you're a man or a woman. So it's not necessarily gender, it's an energy, right? The masculine and the feminine. And at the same time, for February, I was doing 22 days of Goddess Quest. And I don't know if I shared this in my past episodes, but I had so much resistance to doing a quest on Goddess. This year, 2021, the theme of 2021 is Goddess. For me, it's because I'm still exploring it. It was the same theme as last year. So I'm like, okay, I guess 2021 is Goddess 2.0. But I don't really know what that means. So when my mentor started talking about, doing quests, I've already been doing quests since a little bit May, June of last year. But when the idea of, Goddess Quest came up for me, it was a download that came through, I had resistance. And whenever there's a resistance, I know it's something to look at. And so I decided to do a 22-day Goddess Quest, even though I kind of went in kind of kicking and screaming energetically. It felt like there's going to be something here for me, even though I felt maybe a lot of pressure, my own initial pressure of the goddess energy is all powerful and she's flowy and she's got this glow about her. And sometimes I'm literally in my PJs all day. It's I'm a little bit messy. There's all of that. And so I went in with a little bit of hesitation, but it was as with anything, when I commit, I commit. So I showed up for it. And some days I did not want to do it. And so it's been a journey. And today I completed the 22 days. Funnily enough, of all the quests that I've done, I'm usually on top of it. I show up every day for however many number of days. Maybe it'll be one day that I don't post it, but I still do it. I just didn't post it on Facebook or whatever. And part of all of my quests now, I have a photo just to kind of document it, to capture that moment, to ground that energy. And this time around, I was like 3 days behind in actually posting it on the day I said I would, or, I'm a day behind because I wasn't in the energy at all of that. And so, what was really interesting though is that this is what I really wanted to share in this episode is talking about the feminine, because for me right now, there's a lot of unknowns. With Bali, there's a huge unknown, and I think maybe by next week I'll get some answers. But there's really a lot of unknowns, and what I find myself doing, because this is what we're taught in our society, is to take control of things, right? To come from a logical, linear perspective. And I talk about it, but a lot of times the subconscious takes over and I'm like, oh my gosh. And sometimes it's scary to be in the unknown. Sometimes it's a little bit of nervousness. There's doubt. There's that uncertainty. And for me, I'll say right now, it's never really comfortable. And so there's a part of the ego or the mind, I'll say, that wants answers, that wants the control, that wants to be able to have certainty, right? And that I would also say is in human design, a part of it is the not self. And this is, I can speak for, this is my own lens on this, but it comes back to like the open head, right? The open crown, because in human design, the undefined or the open crown is all about, well, not even the undefined. In human design, the head or the crown is all about answering questions and receiving inspiration. It's also a pressure center. So like there's like this pressure to want to answer the questions, to be in like the knowingness. But the magic of it, if you have that center open or undefined, which relates to me, is can we be open to the wonderment of the unknown? Like that's the beauty of that, of this energy center. Can we be okay with not knowing? Can we be okay with, even though we feel this pressure of having to answer certain questions that might not even really be important or relevant, can we sit with that and let it go by without having to take action on it, right? That's the feminine, right? Being in that space and in that energy of the unknown and going with the flow of it, that's the feminine. And I didn't really make that connection until today after I completed the Goddess Quest. And I shared a post on my last post to celebrate the completion of my Goddess Quest. What's interesting is like, for me, this Goddess Quest journey has been more of an emotional, I've been capturing like more presence of, okay, like today I'm feeling this. Like my first one was rage and anger. And today it was almost like this feeling of sadness, of the unknown, of like this melancholiness, but at the same time a slight sense of optimism. So like there's a lot of emotional waves that's flowing through. That's also part of the feminine. And it's like what I've learned through this Goddess Quest is can I sit with it? Can I be present with it versus having to hide or shrink back because I'm experiencing an emotion that isn't necessarily a feel-good emotion, right? It's not like a joyful, I'm shouting out from the rooftops type of energy, but can I still show up, right? In the messiness of it all, can I still show up? And when I do show up and when I'm riding that wave and riding it, not just trying to detach from it, which is sometimes I do that by disconnecting, life is still happening in a beautiful way for me. Like my business is still expanding and growing. Income is still coming in. And I'll say like this month, I'm recording this in February. This month has so far, it's not the end of February yet, but I'll say so far it's been my slowest income month. And I feel like it's because I have been a little bit more disconnected. And one of the realizations I had through some of like my personal journaling this morning is we don't always have to be in a high vibe, ecstatic and like, oh my God, like I'm just like buzzing with so much goodness and excitement. That's not the only time we're going to attract wealth and money and make sales, right? Like that's not the only time. It feels really good when we're in that energy. But I'll say like in January, the theme, if I have to classify or categorize January, it was an emotional roller coaster. I was going ups and downs. I was like, healing from different things emotionally, but I was in it and I was showing up for it on the front lines, aka on social media. And I was still like, getting signups and clients, and I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. And then in February, there was almost like more of a disconnect because I was trying to control the unknown. I was trying to control the unknown. I was like, I have to start taking action. And an example of that was the rental, right? The 1-year lease that I said yes to, even though really my heart's desire, when I really tuned in, but I didn't listen. It was like, can we be okay with the unknown? Like, I don't know if, Bali is going to open up its doors. I don't, like they say, they're going to give answers on February 8th, or they keep pushing it back every 2 weeks. So the logical decision and answer was to say yes to signing the lease. That was a safe answer, and that would be certain, right? And I did it. I paid my deposit, I applied, I got it. And I was very proud of myself that I was able to get the apartment solely on my business income, because there was a part of me that feared that I wouldn't be able to do that. And I got it. And I was like, oh my God, like this is, the fact that I was able to was, it made me feel really proud of myself. And at the same time, there was like a part of me that kind of wish I didn't, because that meant, oh my God, now I said yes to a 1-year lease. And in that space of me trying to grab for the certainty, news had it that Bali actually did open up its doors. And actually, it's funny because the jury is actually still out. Some circles say actually they are not open, and so I think like it was very vague. But in that window of like possibility that, oh my gosh, it is open and I can actually apply for this visa, more expensive visa, I'll say, then I don't need this 1-year lease. And so that whole journey was like, okay, I kind of jumped the gun, right? I jumped the gun. I didn't necessarily trust. I tried to control everything. That's more of a linear wanting to grasp onto something. And so luckily enough, there was that window of space where I actually hadn't signed the lease yet. I haven't given over my entire deposit. So I was able to take a step back and be, okay, like I actually am not ready yet to put down a yes for a 1-year lease in Seattle, right? That's actually not the direction. And when I made that decision, I've shared in my past episodes through the Big Dreams in HD series, I felt this huge release of, okay, I'm now back on the path I was actually meant to be in. And so I'm back in the unknown. And what's so funny is like, I had that realization this morning, and it was through the Goddess Quest, because this Goddess Quest I so resisted. Every day I was kind of kicking and screaming. And I remember when I had like 7 days left to go, I was like, oh my gosh, 7 days feels like forever. Like what the lessons that when we move through the resistance, we have so much wisdom on the other side. And I didn't know what this quest would teach me. And what I'm sharing with you right now is what this quest has taught me. One is to really feel into the emotions. And in order to do that, we have to be present, and move through it, even if it's not pretty. And don't be afraid to show up in your emotion. I mean, you don't have to like cry and take a photo and share that online. But I mean, like really like feel into it. And I'll speak for myself because I have a business that is online. I don't have to like always unplug if I'm feeling a little down, if I'm feeling a little bit melancholy, if I'm feeling a little bit sad. Like it's okay to show up despite feeling that and sharing my experience of it. I think it gives other people permission to do the same. I think there's so much power in that, because a lot of times there's almost like this we shouldn't show up in our rawness, right? Obviously, if it's like a really hot mess with tears, and that's like a really personal, private moment. And then if it feels good to share afterwards, then do that. But as an entrepreneur, as me who shows up in my personal brand and like my life and who I am, is I feel like it is part of my life's purpose is to show up and share it. It's part of my path, and it shows up in my human design as well. I'm actually not afraid to show that, and that's where the courage and the growth comes in, right? That's part of my work. And I personally got clarity of how human design fits into all of this. Like my main foundation is growth and courage. Like growth is something that's going to be part of my life, right? It's like if we're not here to grow, what are we doing, right? And then the human design component is it powers up, it powers everything else up. So I use human design as a tool. And the thing with, well, talking about human design, I mean, when I was trying to control it all, have that certainty, let's sign that lease and let's just get something going, because I could not be in that void. I could not be in that unknown. It was so uncomfortable. And today when I got that download, like, oh my gosh, that is the feminine. The void is the feminine. And there's actually so much power and potency in the feminine. And it's because it's mysterious, it's the unknown, it's this vastness that it's scary. But what is on the flip side is that's the quantum, right? The quantum of the potentiality is where all the magic happens, right? If we're wanting the certainty, if we're wanting like the answer, that's what's predictable. That's the linearity of it all. It's not where the magic of, oh my gosh, what might happen, the beauty and the excitement of it, yeah, mixed with nervousness because we really don't know, but can we trust? Can we really surrender and be in that space of the unknown where it's like, oh my gosh, something even more beautiful and magical and wildly beyond our dreams lives in this realm? Can we be there? And that came to me in my journaling today after I did the goddess quest, after I shared my post, after I did a live on it. That came through. And I was like, whoa. And I have to give credit to one of my mentors, Melanie Ann Layer, because she talks about this. And this is where I started to make the connections, right? So the beauty of being in the void and in this vast darkness is the quantum, is the feminine. It's the spaciousness. And if we look around us, we have more space than we have matter, right? If you look up towards the sky, towards the cloud, the space between the leaves and the trees, the space when you open up your hands, like if you spread your fingers wide, there's space between your fingers. That's where the feminine resides. And there's so much room for magic. We just have to be willing to trust and to be able to play and dance with this unknown. And yeah, there is what one of my teachers calls the duality of the nervousness, a little bit of fear, right, with the magic and the excitement and the play, right? Can we be in that space? And when I got that today, I was like, oh my God, I am so excited of being in the unknown. Like initially this morning, I woke up kind of in a crappy mood, a little bit sad because like everything that I'm wanting is not happening or it's just this big mystery. And I was getting impatient. So what was happening is I was letting the pressure of my open head center, my open crown, the pressure of it, I was getting frustrated in it because I wanted the answers. I wanted the clarity. I wanted the certainty, which is the masculine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? The masculine offers this beautiful structure and container. And as someone like me who's wanting to dance more in that feminine, because I feel like there's just so much beauty, right? There's so much beauty in the feminine. It's very magnetic. It's like it creates this polarity between the masculine and the feminine. And I've been so in my masculine so often that for me, it's like, oh, like there's no room for magic when I want all of the certainty. There's no room for that. So leaning into that magicness of the unknown and embracing this, riding the emotional wave, because there is like a journey within that. If I'm allowing for myself to be in this emotional wave, because with emotions, it's also not permanent, right? Our emotions are fleeting. One moment we can be incredibly happy, the next we could be incredibly sad. So there's this wave to our emotions that, again, is not really predictable, right? That's my perspective, because especially as a woman, even though in human design my solar plexus is undefined, generally I'm pretty cool, calm, and collected. But at the same time, I feel emotions. I will feel someone else's emotion. It gets amplified in my body, and it's up to me with what I want to do with it, right? And there's an opportunity for me to learn. I will take hold of it. At the same time, our emotions they allow us to experience and to feel, obviously, especially with the feeling of the emotions. But the emotion is what taps us back into the feminine, because that's one of the things I'm reading about in the Flowers and Honey book, right? She talks about our emotions and how that is of the feminine, which I think is so beautiful. And I feel like a lot of times we fear our emotions because it can bring us into that unknown. Like, what's going to happen if I allow myself to just feel the sadness or the anger? Am I going to totally explode and create like a divide, right, with whoever I'm angry at or whatever? And so a lot of it is being able to, well, be smart about how we express our emotions in a healthy, safe way, and at the same time trust what comes through, and also knowing that it's only when we move through our emotions, when we sit with the unknown, when we allow it to be, that we can move through it and then come out through the other side. And I think it's absolutely beautiful when I see people living in that unknown and trusting that process to unfold, right? And not always having to know the answer. And truth be told, my logical linear mind has trouble with it. It's like this, even like when I read things that I don't understand, I'm like, I don't understand what I'm reading. Like, my mind wants to try to grasp it and understand it. But with that, can I be uncomfortable in the unknown? Can I be okay with the unknown? Can I be okay with not really understanding what I'm reading? And I share that because I'm going deeper with human design. And there's some things that I'm reading, I'm like, this makes no sense to me, right? It was something that I'm reading by the founder of human design, and I'm like, this makes no sense to me. Like whatever he's saying, like I'm trying to grasp it, but I'm just kind of like, there's a big question mark. And it's like, can I be with the mystery of it all? And maybe over time, the answers will reveal itself, right? Can I trust that unknown, that big question mark, that mystery, and trust that as I learn more about myself, as I embody and experiment more with my design, and as I work with more people and live life, can the answers unfold as I continue living? And there's actually like wisdom in that, in certain human design channels, in the gates. Like, there is components to that, of being in the mystery, and letting the answers reveal itself as time goes by. And so it's not always that I need to know it now. I have to know it now, because that's a lot of it is in the scarcity, right, of not knowing and having to know because we fear the unknown, right? So in that space of the unknown, and the vastness of the void, there's so much abundance there because it's all of the potential. And it's where creation can come through, because anything is possible in that creative realm of magic. And when I think about it now, I'm so excited. Like, I'm excited for everything that is unknown to me. And I'm also trusting that it's either what I want or something better, right? For the highest good for all, for everybody involved. Like, this or something better. And if we can tap into that and trust it, then it's going to be the case. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today. I just feel really good with this download, and continuing to be in that space. And so I would love your thoughts. If this resonated with you, please share it. You can take a snapshot of it somehow. You can record it. You could take a snapshot, screenshot this, tag me on Instagram at michellewong.xo. My DMs are, I love receiving DMs from listeners. And if you want to learn more about human design, I do readings. I do one-on-one readings. I do 2 different types of it for one-on-ones, and I also do partner readings. There's bundle discounts if you want to do a little combination. And I also do human design embodied. So like getting a reading is one thing, but putting it into practice, it takes more time. It's like a journey with it. So I have offerings to help guide you. And then I also have more one-on-one coaching that brings in more human design, but then it's more long-term coaching, like at 3 months minimum, so that we have more time to explore and play together, and really just basically mentoring you on your journey through courage, through growth, through confidence, weaving in human design as well. So all of that is available. Just shoot me a DM and I'll share some links in the show notes. And I'll also share a link to the book, Flowers and Honey by Julie Tenner, for those of you who want to dive deeper into your feminine. So have a beautiful day, evening, night, wherever you're at, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers. Thank you for listening to the Sacred Emergence podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and thank you in advance for sharing this with others who can benefit. Until next time.